This is WBSM On Demand.
Good morning. Good morning. Boy, it's becoming a beautiful morning out there. Guess we must have needed that rain, so that was good. And now it's the sun is out, and hopefully it'll be a beautiful day. I think it will be a beautiful day. We've got Ward 1 City Council Leo Choquette brought me the donuts. We appreciate that, Leo. Everybody here loves Leo because he brings in donuts, and they love me for requiring the donuts. I don't really require them, but Leo, good morning. Thanks for coming.
Good morning, sir, and good morning, everybody.
So you are coming up on, you've been there now for how long?
11 and a half months.
11 and a half months.
Coming up on a year.
Coming up on a year. I think it's really innovative what you've been doing with these town meeting type forums you have at Pulaski School. How's the turnout been?
Thank you. So late, we actually had one the other night. The turnout was a little lower than what we had before, but I've been trying to pack them with multiple guests, so it kind of draws on a broader audience. So they've been, most of the attendance has been between 75 to 100 per meeting. When we had Mayor Mitchell there, I think we had like almost 110 people.
Right.
Now, obviously it's because the mayor's there, right?
Sure.
And the other day we had the Chief New Bedford Fire Department, Chief Kruger.
Right.
Wonderful guy. He brought in like a real plethora of knowledge about fire safety and prevention. We had about 30 folks at that one. But like I told Miss Wendy Morrill, and she agreed, the week before that, we had the Parallel Products Mass DEP listening session. So I think a lot of people were kind of burnt out.
Well, yeah. And you're coming into the time where people's schedules are getting tight here, the holidays and all of that stuff.
Sure.
And it also, it's just people figure you've got it covered. In other words, in New Bedford, they elect a representative, in this case, the city councilor, to do the job for them. And a lot of them just tune out because of that, which I don't think is good ultimately. But you're trying to prevent that by having these forums. And it's a whoever comes shows up. But it's a great form of democracy.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I look at it as it keeps people interested in the current events.
Right.
And if my theory is correct, that should play into voter participation going up.
Yes.
Because everybody knows we get like single-digit percentage voter turnout in municipal elections.
Right.
We want to get that up.
You need to get it up because, like I always say, as goes New Bedford, goes the region. But that Ward 1 area has always been, the bastion of civic involvement, that in Ward 5 and certain parts of Wards. I mean, there are parts all over the city. But Ward 1 has always been talked about throughout, everybody knows Ward 1, even if you're not a politician from this area. Everybody knows that area.
Yeah, you have to, if you run citywide, whether it be at large or for mayor or whatever office, you have
run
to do
countywide,
well.
sheriff, county commissioner, you got to get into Ward 1.
Yeah, you got to do well in Ward 1. And like you said before, Ward 1 is like your hometown of East Freetown, except with higher taxes.
Exactly.
Which hopefully we're working on lowering them.
Yes.
We'll see what happens with that. But
Leo, your thoughts on this recall petition. I don't want to put you on the spot with your colleague because you need a certain percentage of other colleagues to go along with you, whatever you want to do. And I know there are some, without you saying it, there are some vindictive people in that council. It's bizarre to me, but there they are. I don't know why anybody puts up with it, but some people do. You've done a nice job of not putting up with it. So, Leo, this recall petition, do you view it as how it impacts Leo Choquette, or do you see it as how it impacts the taxpayers?
Well, I see that it impacts the taxpayers because like you've said before, we've been fortunate to have a solid mayor, and I'll say even a very good mayor in my opinion, in John Mitchell. But what happens if someone's in there for 4 years and we get another Giselle Correa?
Right.
Then we're in trouble.
And you know how powerful the mayor is. You figured that out. You knew before you got elected, but now that you're elected, you realize not John, but the office of the mayor. The office of the mayor.
The strong mayor government so we have a strong mayor, weak council government.
Right.
Fall River, on the other hand, has a weak mayor, strong council government, right? They are the inverse of each other. And it's very interesting to compare the two. But the mayor is, from the perspective of everything originates from the mayor's office in that strong form of government.
Right.
In the weak form of government, I believe the mayor, he or she is essentially like the CEO as far as the president of the council, right?
Sure.
Whereas here in the strong mayor government, they are the, warrior chief shaman of democracy.
So, I mean, I think if you go back to Rosemary Tierney, Fred Kalis, Scott Lang, and now John Mitchell, the city has voted for very good people.
Yes.
Okay? You can disagree with policy decisions, obviously. Some people might have taxes too high. Some people might, whatever, right? We can all pick out policy decisions, but you don't have corrupt people in there. You never have that. But as you point out, and I've pointed out, you have had that in other cities.
Yeah. Fall River comes to mind, right?
So you're not afraid of the recall?
No, not at all.
Did it strike you as odd how many fellow councilors are?
Well, I think, it's really not that I don't really think that it's that they have something to hide. It's just that they feel as though, and again, I'm speaking, out of turn, but I will speak on what I feel is the general mood of the council. We don't have a lot of power versus the mayor's office. And I feel like perhaps the other councilors feel like this is something that, they don't have to necessarily worry about, right, as it exists now.
Yes.
So it's almost like, whatever limited power the council does have, even by doing something like this, there's always a risk that they're giving something away, maybe. I mean, that's the only thing I can come across that rationalize in my head.
Sure.
I mean, obviously, my colleagues, they're not in any danger of being recalled or having, any bad issues come out, right? But I think it's just that. It's just that, we really don't have much power, and it's tough for them to, want to openly give things away in that, the way I'm trying to say it.
Yes, I understand.
And it doesn't bother me at all because I'm brand new still.
Right.
So I don't know any
you do
difference.
your job.
Yeah, well, of course, yeah.
Right. But also, no individual councilor, and I don't mean to say this to insult anybody, but because of the structure of government, no one councilor has any real power.
Oh, that's true, because it's watered down in 11 ways.
Right. Right.
And to begin with, the sum total of the 11 of us isn't even co-equal really with the mayor.
Yes.
It's supposed to be, but technically it's not.
Right.
So.
Right. So, in other words, I don't get it. They are holding up in an effort to preserve their own little fiefdoms, their own $50,000 in health insurance for a 2-year election. They are holding up a very necessary political item, which is a recall on the 4-year mayor.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it appears to be, right? That's what
it's stuck.
Yeah. I don't know really why it's happening the way it is, other than my theory of just, anytime the council has some kind of, and leverage is probably not the right word, but any kind of upsmanship in power against, the other branch of government, they want to hold on to it.
Right.
And not from a bad point of view. It's just that I think we all feel for the most part like, the 11 redheaded stepchildren versus the mayor, right?
Yeah. But what I heard a couple of comments from the city councilors talking about special interest groups might come and recall you because of an issue that you did. Who are these special interest groups? I don't know of any special interest groups. I really don't.
I don't know either. I mean, that's.
I mean, I think that some of these people are living in an imaginary world.
I mean, would the tent city advocates try to recall me? I don't know, because
maybe actually, Leo. Maybe I didn't think of that. That is actually a very strong. That actually is a special interest group, the tent city people.
Yeah.
How they doing these days, Leo? They're still grinding away, I know.
Yeah. So I get calls once in a while that there's some homeless encampments around the area, and I try to be as compassionate as possible.
Right.
I call the chief, and again, Chief Oliveira is very sensitive to these things in a good way. He enacts the HARP protocol. I can't speak highly enough of Chief Oliveira when it comes to how he handles this, the homeless problem in a humane fashion.
Right.
I don't know where the report was that was read during that council meeting by one of my colleagues.
Yeah, Shane Burgo singled out the New Bedford Police Department when in reality it was 4 city departments in that police department. Didn't even mention New Bedford, but he singled them out. It was weird.
Yeah, I think he had misinformation because Chief Oliveira is always
reading comprehension problems. 508-996-05. We have Leo Choquette, Ward 1 City Councilor. Great guy in here. When he's not here, he's out working. He's a private sector guy. And he runs these forums. When's the next one you're having, Leo? Have you scheduled yet?
I haven't scheduled it yet.
It's going to get tricky now.
Yeah.
With the holidays.
I got to figure. We may wait until January.
Sure, that makes sense.
We may wait until January. I was given a good topic, though, as a potential topic, as far as a lot of folks are not happy with the utility bills.
Right.
Right, and the cost, like Eversource, I believe it is, and the utility bills going up, and maybe that'll be the topic of our next forum is, people, what they're paying for power and for heat.
I like that, Leo. I like that a lot. Good morning. Thanks for holding your live on the air.
Morning, guys. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Hey, good morning.
Not bad. Good morning. First and foremost, Chris, I'm really glad you're not a selectman any longer, because you'd be really easy to bribe considering how excited you get over a dozen donuts.
I was easy before, but you're right.
Gee, oh my Lord. If I was a developer, I'd just bring in a dozen donuts and I can just build a factory in the middle of a residential neighborhood. Nobody cares.
You could have done that anyway. I wouldn't have cared anyway. Go ahead.
Just a quick question in regards to the recall, or at least in the universe of the recall. Is there any mechanism where the city council as a whole can hold a rogue mayor accountable? Kind of like what Congress would do with censorship and all that type of stuff. Is there anything to punish the mayor or kind of rein in the power of the mayor as a city council?
I don't think
that's a good question.
So.
I don't think so either.
That's a Dave Gerwatowski question, but
yes.
I'm pretty sure there's nothing in there because of just the dynamic of the strong mayor versus weak council government.
No, I agree with you. I don't think so. But you guys are doing a pretty good job trying to hold the budget.
Sure. I mean, I'll be very interested to see our meeting on I believe it's Tuesday coming up, where we vote the tax rate.
Right.
My campaign promise all along was that I will never vote on anything that's going to raise the taxes. So now I get to find out what that entails.
Right.
But as you know, and we've talked about it, Leo, since before you got elected, the real setting the tax rate is a formality. It's really the budget that sets the tax rate.
Sure. And then, of course, the assessors value the property, and it's multiple times.
They got to backfill the money you spent.
Yeah.
The mayor spends.
Yeah.
508-996-05. And tell you what, if you're on hold, stay there. If you want to get through, I got one open phone line right now. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back, folks. It's going to get colder and colder all the time. It'll get wet. It's wet already now, but when it gets wet and cold and starts to freeze, that crack in your windshield can really turn into a bad day. You don't want it. You don't want it for your family members. So if there's a crack in your windshield, there's no reason to be there, right? It's very easy. Pick up the phone, call my friends at Citywide Glass. They're in Dartmouth and Fall River, or you can do it right on the internet, citywideglass.net. You don't want to go through the winter, with your children and your wife or your husband, whatever the construction of your family is. You don't want to do it with a cracked windshield. It's dangerous. With the winter coming, the moisture gets in, it expands. It's just not healthy for your family. So give Citywide Glass a call. Look, it's no big deal. They'll send the mobile unit right to your house or to your work. Fix the windshield for you. If your husband's truck's got a crack and it's been bothering you, say, hey, honey, Merry Christmas. I called Citywide Glass. Won't cost us anything because they take all insurance. So do the right thing. Reach out to Citywide Glass. Book the mobile tech team to come right out to your house or your work. Make an appointment. Call them in Fall River or Dartmouth, Citywide Glass, or do it right online, citywideglass.net. All insurance is accepted. You don't need a crack in your windshield. And also, they do door windows, truck sliders, sunroofs, all kinds of glass. Those little rear view mirrors that get knocked off with some whiskey dents, right? Citywide Glass. They'll take care of your business for you. Let's go back to the phones. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Hey, Chris and Leo. How are you doing today?
Not bad, Leo.
Great. Good morning. How are you?
Very good. One thing I'd like to ask Leo is, as there's discussions about homeless people, and it seems like some of the discussions go to are, tent cities and homeless encampments and whatever. But I think I had heard that there was a report where they had gone out to try to figure out how many homeless people were in New Bedford, which I think is obviously a good start. Maybe that should be something that's done quarterly. But then the thing that comes to mind is of the homeless people in New Bedford, how many homeless people are veterans, military veterans? Because there's programs that can be plug and play that can help veterans and address them directly without, putting a lot of brain power together in the city council to try to figure it out. And it seems like there's, a person in charge of this area in the council, and there's a lot of spinning around the not really anything getting done, but you're trying to invite maybe other groups in that are national groups, or I just hear a lot of activity that doesn't really come into any results or any real help, any data that shows that we're helping people. But it'd be really nice to know of the X amount of people that are homeless, how many are veterans, because Tunnels to Towers will come in and take care of those people. They've actually done, they've taken care of 82,000 veterans in the United States.
And what was the name
homeless.
of that?
Tunnels for Towers.
Tunnels for Towers.
Tunnels for Towers. And so if you can identify the homeless people that are veterans and can contact Tunnels to Towers, they will come in and work on it. They have a track record. There's been 82,000 veterans they've helped on one level or another. So anyway, if you try to get exactly. So anyway, that's just my 2 cents.
No, thanks for the call. Thanks for the call.
Yeah, no, this is one of the reasons I love coming in here is I learn.
Mark Wahlberg, Marky Mark, he raises money for them. He does a TV commercial for them. Of course, he's from Massachusetts. Yep. Little known fact, Hank Turgeon was one of the Funky Bunch. People don't realize that, but he was. Hank Turgeon used to be a backup dancer for Marky Mark.
Well, I knew he had good moves.
Yeah. He makes good. He was a great dancer. He still is a pretty good dancer, I think. 508-996-05. So, Leo, I thought the succession plan, you were involved in that conversation in the city council. Look, I find that stuff very interesting. Maybe because I'm a nerd. I like the idea of formulating governments and things like how you're going to do it. What are your thoughts on that?
So
you spoke up.
It was very interesting. It's almost like our chance to have our very own constitutional convention.
Right.
Except the cast of characters is much different, obviously. We don't have James Madison or John Jay or George Washington, obviously. But it was, so the different thought processes about how and who becomes the mayor in the case of an interim being required. So as it stands now, it is the president of the council.
Yes.
Automatically. There was some talk
on the 2-year term.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. So now the question becomes what happens in the last year if it's in the 4-year term. So you could have a succession scenario where the mayor, much like former Mayor Markey, let's say Mayor Mitchell decided to take up a judicial appointment.
Yes.
Right. And so he leaves.
That's not an unreasonable thing.
No, absolutely not. And so he leaves, and then now, as it stands, right, the president of the council would be the acting mayor. I have no problem with that being the case as long as it's not for like a year or some protracted amount of time. But the problem happens where it comes into play is that there's no special election if in the same year there's going to be a regular election. Right. So now it's like whoever takes that may actually be the acting mayor for a whole year almost. It's possible.
It is possible, yes.
And so the other option that was discussed from some of the councilors, and it absolutely was not my idea because I am vehemently opposed to it, would be that we wouldn't necessarily have the president of the council be the acting mayor. The acting mayor would be chosen amongst us 11 city councilors by a vote of the 11 city councilors, which just does not feel democratic to me. If it was for 30 days, all right, but you could have somebody manipulate the vote, and then they're the mayor for a year.
Understanding, folks, that the person who is no longer campaigning to be the council president, for which they have very few goodies to give away, your money to give away. But when they're campaigning among their colleagues to be the mayor, they've got literally millions of dollars to give away or to manipulate. So in that respect, I do think it's wise, Leo, to wonder about that, right?
Yep.
So now, I think the mayor, again, you guys are going to vote on something. We did vote on something in committee, and it's going to go to the full floor. It'll get passed there or not get passed. It'll go to the mayor. If he refuses to sign it, it comes back.
Correct.
And then, because this is all really a home rule petition.
Yep. And then we took the vote, and on changing it to being that vote of 11 to be the success, the mayoral successor, and it failed 5-5.
Right. That's because Derek Baptiste was not there. This absenteeism by some of these councilors is outrageous.
Well, yeah.
I know you're not responsible for other council.
I can't
One of
speak
11
on
yeah.
that, but 5-5. I mean, fortunately, it still fell in the favor of not being passed.
Right.
So now it's essentially the way it was before. It's going to be the council president continues on that. Like what happened with, I think it was Mr. Macedo became the acting mayor, and then I believe George Rogers also became the acting mayor at one point.
George got elected to mayor.
Oh, did he? Okay.
George got elected to mayor, and then the city burned to the ground because of the radical left-wing activists and really Cuban-trained activists who burned the city in some respects. And then George Rogers was voted out of office. The National Guard was waiting like in Freetown. He never let him come in, and the city burned. And look, I like George, but that's the truth. And then Jack Markey was elected to lay down the law and order.
Oh, okay.
508-996-0500. So, Leo, the recall petition, that is just dormant now, right?
Yeah.
You got to take your hands away.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. It's dormant now. Yeah, it's dormant. So it's almost like it was tabled to some degree.
Right.
Same idea.
Right. So what is I know you're all for it because you recognize in the big picture it's needed.
Yes.
It's not about Leo Choquette. It's not about any one of you councilors. I can't even imagine a scenario today where any one of the personalities get recalled.
No, I can't either. Did you see the part during the discussion where
Yes.
Councilor Morad actually asked to have the parameters changed so that it was 12, I believe it was 12 months in and no more than 4 months. So essentially the dates overlapped so that it was impossible. So that was pretty slick.
The lawyer stood up, Eric Jakes, and pointed out that, hey, you can't, basically, he didn't say it like this, but you can't be too cute by half. You can't make it so that there's no way the deadlines work. The Attorney General's not going to sign off on that.
Yeah, I don't know if that was intentional on her part or not, but,
Oh, no.
it was.
My opinion. I heard her and Naomi Carney start agreeing and laughing to the lawyer saying, no, we know.
Oh, well,
Right?
Yeah.
And again, I get it. They're very comfortable in the chamber. Well, some of them are more comfortable at home, really, if we think about it. But doing the government by shut-ins, you don't do that, Leo. But you have to. When you have to, you do, obviously. But the thing has to be a workable plan. But again, I don't think any city councilor is at risk of being recalled unless they know, and I'm sure they do, know stuff they've done that the public's not aware of that really worries them at night.
Yeah, again, I can't speak on that, but what I will say is that, even if there was, I like you say, I don't see any scenario where they would be recalled.
Who is going to dedicate their life to try to recall Ian Abreu or Linda Morad or Brian Gomes from the city council? It's an exhaustive effort.
Yeah.
You have to get real democratic support, right? Small d. I don't see that out there.
No, and each of the councilors have, in my opinion, they bring something positive to the table. They all do.
Right.
Even the ones that don't like me and I don't like them, but I
wouldn't have been
respect
elected
their
if they did.
abilities.
They wouldn't have been elected.
Correct.
They know how to win elections. And the idea that you're going to get some civilian to go out and get signatures all over the place and then mount a campaign over what? What? You overspent your campaign finance? You spent it, what, on signs that weren't for your campaign? What? I don't know. Or you missed a couple meetings like Maria Giesta does, which is really a problem, but nobody's going to recall her over that. Yet they go around trying to kill this thing off? Or is it that, Leo, everybody in that council, yourself included, I would assume, considers himself a future mayor, and they don't want to have a recall if they're the mayor?
That could be a possibility.
Right?
Sure. But again, it goes back to the point, Chris, where I think that, what limited power we do have as city councilors,
right,
we all try to protect it.
Yes.
Even subconsciously, I think, because...
Sure.
Especially given now that the mayor is a 4-year term. Right?
Right.
So it's an uneven voting dynamic. We're only at 2 years. The mayor's at 4.
Right.
So...
But I did see... do you hear little chatters about let's make ourselves 4-year terms?
I've heard that. I think it would be easier to convince the voters to reset the mayoral term to 2 years rather than having city councilors running around for 4 years.
Right. But there is talk of that.
Sure. Absolutely.
Among the councilors.
Yep.
You don't hear that in the public.
No. It's just, obviously, we want to try to
Not bad. Win one election, get $100,000 in health insurance, right? Not bad, Leo, right?
It's not bad at all. But, it's...
But you're not in favor of that.
No. 2 years is quite a bit. And I feel like, the campaigning again for the next term starts on day one. You never stop because you have to answer to the shareholders. Like I've said before, it's just like a private company.
Before you were a city councilor, and while you're a city councilor, and after you're gone, you'll be a tax-paying, property-owning member of Ward 1.
Correct.
So you haven't been in the council so long that you've got your mind captured, like it's us against them. You don't strike me that way.
No.
But it strikes me that some of them are that way.
There is
my words, not yours.
There is a dynamic where the council and the mayor's office are constantly butting heads.
Yes.
And I feel like the best way to get things done, and I said it the last time I was on, you work with the mayor's department heads. That's how stuff gets done for the people. You
worked really closely to get your constituents back online for garbage.
Yes, and that's something I'm very proud of. I'm very
happy.
Be. I'm very happy about that because it's a tangible result. I can see it.
Right. And your constituents can see it.
Yep.
They can see it too. We'll get some people on hold. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Good morning, Chris.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, Councilor Choquette.
Oh, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good, very good. I call in quite often, and I'm a strong proponent of relieving the tax burden on small businesses and homeowners. I'm glad to hear that you share that. The council does have some powers when it comes to the budget, but they got to work as a group, and hopefully you joining will strengthen that portion of it. I was very, very disappointed with the opera funds. The mayor could have done a better job if he would have taken that $84 million and taken a quarter of it and put it to sewer and wastewater. He would have not taken as much heat as he did with the way he, shared it out. I don't know how you feel about that, but the city under him for over 10 years, we have not seen him hold the taxes down. It's a build, which you have to do. You have to grow. I understand that. But you're hired to represent the people. That's the biggest thing when anybody gets elected. You're fighting for their vote. And he's forgotten about that, and I hope you don't. And I wish you the best of luck up there because I know you're new, and I hope you do the right thing for the citizens of New Bedford because you really vote for all of us at some point on these issues.
Right.
And I thank you for taking my call, and I hope both of you have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you, my friend, as always. 508-996. Leo, just to point out, I'll do it for you. Leo was not on the city council when the whole ARPA money was first given to the city. He was still a civilian out there just paying taxes like everybody else in the city. So when the ARPA money was divvied up with the council and the mayor and all that stuff, and the laws came down from the feds, Leo, you weren't there yet.
No, I wasn't there, but I want to point out to that caller, thank you for the kind words. And, I know Councilor Carney had a suggestion about ARPA money being spent on the sewer and public infrastructure to almost a quarter of that total, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think she wanted like $20 million or something to go to the sewer and infrastructure.
Leo, you were an outspoken opponent, and I hope will still continue to be, on the renewal of the Capitol Theater from a former theater, then just a abandoned city block, really half a block, whatever, and on Acushnet Avenue, to now basically a fortress for illegal aliens. And we know that because of New Bedford Lights journalism. You've heard me play. You read the article. Are you still opposed to spending city money on the Capitol Theater project?
I am still opposed to it. However, because of personal reasons, I have to recuse myself from further votes on that.
Right.
But I am against it. I mean, I lost two colleagues who were friends on the city council over it, over our different opinions on it. So, I have no problem opposing it because it's something that I don't feel is a good use of taxpayer money. But again, going forward, I can't take any votes on it.
Just explain why.
Yeah, so one of my family members is currently working on it, is one of the contractors on the case, on the project. And he does a lot of historical restoration. He's the best in the city.
Right.
So, obviously.
Give him a plug.
Yeah, Paul Choquette.
Paul Choquette. So I appreciate, Leo, that you're just playing by the rules.
Yeah.
You have a conflict. Even though you're opposed to it, you can't vote on it anymore. But you can still explain that now it's going to be ground zero for illegal aliens.
Yeah, it's going to be a big topic of discussion.
Right.
Absolutely.
That was the largest recipient in this tranche of ARPA funds. At least the spreadsheet that I was given by John Darling, spokesperson from the mayor, shows that that's the largest tranche of funding from ARPA money went to Capitol Theater project this time.
Yeah, so it seems to be drawing money from different sources, right?
Oh, yeah.
You get federal tax credits, you got taxpayer money, the CPA, the ARPA.
Right.
So they put together a pretty substantial package to fund it.
They want $14 million to build a clubhouse, as you put, clubhouse for the CP, whatever they are, Corinne Williams Group, which is just going to lobby and do legal work and actually have barracks, their apartments for illegal aliens.
Yeah, there appears to be, they have a goal in mind, and they've drawn on multiple sources. So it's the way it's going to play out now. It appears that it's going to happen, and I gave my opinion on it, and for what it's worth, and that's that, right?
You and Sean Oliver, the only two who voted no. I hope the other councilors will recognize now they don't want to go to war with the federal government and fund it with city money. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Yeah. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Leo Choquette, although, as our caller points out, and I try to do it from time to time, you vote on everything in the city. You you represent, you're elected by Ward 1, but your votes count for everywhere.
Sure, everyone's vote 1 out of 11.
Right,
so
1 out of 11.
At-large councilors, ward councilors.
So you had a finance committee meeting the other night. You kind of broke ranks with some of the other cutters. You were one of the groups that cut a lot of the budget, but you did vote to put some money back for the city solicitor. Explain.
Yeah, so the city solicitor's office is a very important part of our defense, right? Where it definitely comes into play is when we're trying to fight things like sober houses, group homes. There's a very large battle going on nationwide, really, with interpretations of things like the Americans with Disabilities Act, the Dover Amendment at the state level, and these things require counsel. So there's
lawyers.
Lawyers. I'm sorry. So there's two options. You either seek private, counsel and pay the big bucks, or you pay a large staff of your own solicitors. And the council chose as a body to underfund the solicitor's office. And in my opinion, that's just not wise.
Okay.
Because you just, it's like driving without a seatbelt, right? It really is. So Councilor Abreu and I believe Councilor Lopes also, we voted to put some money back for the solicitors, but unfortunately it didn't pass.
And you also voted to fund the food for the animals, which I thought was reasonable.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Councilor Abreu and I, we talked about this, even
Why does Maria Giesta want to starve the animals?
I don't know.
She doesn't starve herself.
And it's not just her. I mean, it's the, because Ian and I were the only two that voted to put the money back, and maybe Derek Baptiste, Councilor Baptiste also.
I don't think he showed up, was he?
No, I think he was at that meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the one from Zoom.
Well, yeah, the Zoom one, that one. So we voted to give, and it's not just food for the animals. It was just, to fund the zoo budget to what it was proposed in the mayor's budget. And I mean, I don't know. The council seems to think that the zoo is a superfluous expense. But how can you have a zoo without having proper animal feed?
You got to feed the animals.
That's cruel and unusual.
Right. I got a puppy a couple weeks ago now, and I got to pay for his food.
Yeah, it's part about being a pet owner.
Right.
And it's part about being a decent person.
If you own a zoo, you got to feed the animals.
Yeah, or they may feed on you at some point. You don't want an elephant running around attacking people for lunch.
You could have one big fundraising hunting trip to the zoo.
Be like a safari.
Right, safari night at the zoo. Barry Sylvia down there with a big rifle. You can write a check and hunt to the zoo. Yeah, I'm joking, folks. I'm joking.
We'll call Barry Sylvia, too.
Yeah, you got to call Barry. You got to call Barry. Barry's great. 508-996-0500. That's how you can get on the air. We have Leo Choquette here in studio. So, Leo, like you said, you came into the council with the idea of cutting the budget responsibly, and you've held strong. You guys basically didn't return much money back to the budget last night or the other night from finance.
No, I believe we didn't return any money.
Right.
Yeah.
But you tried to give the lawyers back some money.
Absolutely, because again, there are first line of defense, and the scenario which would play out in a negative way would be if more group homes or sober homes started to really challenge the city, and they know that our solicitor's office is, undermanned, understaffed, underfunded. Eric Jakes, the city solicitor, great guy, great attorney, but he's not Superman. No one is.
Right.
And there's only so much he can do. And then now we've opened ourselves up to lawsuits by sober homes or group homes because folks, believe it or not,
weakness invites aggression.
Exactly. They'll see that, and they'll sue us. They'll try to drive us into the ground.
Thanks for calling. You're live on the air.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Councilor,
hey, good morning.
Are you willing, you and your colleagues, to establish a committee on the illegal alien problem? It's cost overruns in our public schools. Our hospital is overrun. People waiting 1 to 3 days in the emergency room. And the housing, the lack of housing that we have here because of all these illegal aliens. Can you give me your word that you can go out and start a committee, you and Brian Gomes
you can't do that.
and others, to take care of this? Are you going to work with ICE to clean up our city? Those are the two questions. A committee.
Yeah, but he can't do that, sir. You're asking. He's a good guy. You're putting him on the spot to ask him to do something he cannot do. City council president is the only one who establishes committees. He's not the city council president. But go ahead, Leo.
No, I was going to say I would, because I think somebody asked Representative Chris Markey when he was here not too long ago about something similar. Are you going to get in the way of the federal government and ICE and all that? Look, I'm not going to mess with the federal government.
Right.
They're going to do what they're going to do.
And you believe criminal illegal aliens should be deported, right?
Well, yeah, of course. Absolutely.
Again, my guests are not here to be put on the spot to be asked stupid things. Like he's nothing to do with the federal government. He's a city councilor from Ward 1 in his rookie year. He does a good job, but don't ask him to create a committee with Brian Gomes. Brian Gomes not even here, and Leo has no ability to start a committee. He doesn't, and I don't think you want the illegal alien discussion going on in the city council because I think the good American side would lose.
Yeah, I don't know how that would play out, but
right.
It wouldn't be 10. It wouldn't be 11-0 that way.
For the American side, it really wouldn't be. Maybe that would be good. Maybe we could expose some people, but I think we know who the Americans are and who they aren't. Right? I think we do. We're gonna take a break. We'll be right back. Leo Choquette here in studio. Leo, you're a Democrat.
Yes.
You're a good, God-fearing Democrat.
I'm a conservative Democrat. I kind of like to put myself in the mold of a JFK-type Democrat who, by the way, today's November 22nd. God rest President Kennedy's soul.
The federal government's going to change.
Yeah. Well, the Republican Party now has control of the presidency, the Senate, the court system, and the Congress. So they have all the tools now. So let's see what they do. Let's
see what they do with it, right? Hopefully they can bring down energy prices. I see a lot of good stuff happen there. But you were talking about your next forum, probably at the beginning of next year, because of the holidays, will probably focus on the price of energy.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I actually have to give credit to that where it's due.
Okay.
Barry Richard texted me and said there were a lot of his callers calling about that, and I should do something like that. So I want to give him credit.
I've had show after show on the price of energy because what Governor Healy, who I'm sure you voted for, a lot of people made that mistake and voted for her, is locking us into more of these offshore wind accounts for power. It's just, the experts tell me it's all wrong.
Yeah, I don't know where all the offshore wind stuff is going to end. It seemed like an experiment that really didn't bring dividends to Northern Europe, and now why we're really into it, I just, I don't know.
I know that Bloomberg this morning, which is the financial channel that I pay a lot of attention to, the gentleman on there was talking about in Europe, Germany is tanking Europe, and one of the big problems is that they messed up their energy mix. They moved away from nuclear. They relied on Russia. They started getting involved in offshore wind. The energy mix in Europe's all messed up.
Yeah, so number one, they violated one of history's most important lessons. Don't ever depend on the Russians for resources.
Right. They'll use it against you.
Yes, that's number one. Number two, nuclear power is the way to go.
Yes.
Especially the experimental technologies of nuclear fusion. I know former Mayor Lane comes in here all the time and talks about it, and I'm always amazed how on point he is with that stuff because he really is on point.
He keeps up with it.
Yeah, and one day I see New Bedford becoming a nuclear fusion powerhouse because you need seawater in order to have the reactants work to produce nuclear fusion. We're just still behind for about 10, 20 years on technology.
A lot of people don't realize, not only did you go to law school, but you flirted with medical school too.
Yeah.
He's a pretty bright guy, actually, folks.
I wish I could get on Jeopardy. Probably get some topics I could do well.
I didn't know that. Next time you come in, I'll have a bunch of questions ready for you.
There you go.
No, he's a pretty smart guy, Leo. He really is. In fact, Leo, folks, for those who don't know this, Leo made his bones with me when I was in the hospital. Maybe it was never coming back to the microphone. He used to come visit me, bring me books. We talked about the JFK assassination. We talked about a lot of stuff. So Leo's a good man, and I really appreciate his friendship.
Thank you, Chris. I wasn't going to let you go, buddy. Anything that I could do. I know you. It was very miserable for you to be in there. You know? And you're a guy who needs to spread his wings.
Yes.
I felt very bad. I really did.
Hey, we now have Sheriff Hodgson, Tom Hodgson, chairman of the Trump campaign, coming in. Leo, going to say goodbye to you. I want you and your wife and your family to have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we'll see you before holidays, before the Christmas. We'll see you.
You too. Thank you, Chris. And everybody, be careful cooking turkeys. Don't use the electric turkey fryers.